Aloha, everybody. This is the 13th Sing to the Whales event, and this is the first time we're doing something very different. So, recording an interview, or we're having our special guest, Rebecca Goff, here with us, live, pre recorded from Hawaii. And tomorrow, when the event is actually happening right now for you, is where we're gonna try and play this into Zoom. So this is a very new and special thing, and we'll see how it goes. So thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Ron.
And I'm gonna first share a little bit about you and how I got to meet you, and then we're gonna have to ask you some exciting questions. So for me, Rebecca was one of the books I used back in 2011. I started writing about dolphin therapy for social work studies, and I needed a lot of different resources. And for what I wanted to write about, there wasn't many. So I just went online and got all the different dolphin books. And Rebecca's book was one of them. And it's called Kissing Whales, Healing Dolphins.
Sick.
Yeah. And the book is written very multidimensionally, so I couldn't use a lot for the academic part, but I still enjoyed everything she was saying. There was so much that resonated and so much that was very interesting inside that book, that also some of the things she was describing started to happen for me later. So I found it very interesting how she talks about dolphins, whales, aquacranial, the therapy that she does, and many other things. So to introduce you, you've been doing this for at least 30 years now, if I understand it correctly.
Yes, I started with kids in swimming pools, doing occupational therapy on cerebral palsy patients, and that was actually in the 1960s when I started. So I took it to the water, to the ocean about 30 years ago.
Okay, so um, what is I'm just gonna go straight down in the energy and just start asking questions that go very deep. So we have Rebecca working for 30 years, experienced aquacranial yesterday, and you saw a shot of me going in the water, how it looks when you're floating. Tell me, in what way does whale and dolphin consciousness can interact with the work of aquacranial?
Okay. Well, first of all, they trained me on how to do it. They specifically told me to attach to the cranial system within the body and that they would teach me what to do and to take infants and children to the age of 3 into the ocean to do this. So, my very first time, I live on Maui, so 30 years ago, 35 years ago, when I said, "Hey, dolphins want to big kids in the ocean," everybody's like, "Take my baby." And I had a little naked baby, probably 7, 8 months old, sitting in my hand. And I'm like, and I connected to our cranial field. And it's like, what am I supposed to do next? And this beautiful golden egg of light surrounded this baby. And that child looked in my eyes and was totally present. I think if a dolphin should come up that time, I wouldn't have even known what to do. I was so blown away by the child itself. And it started with the dolphins, and I combined yoga. I taught yoga for several years, taught the yoga. So I combined yoga and what the dolphins told me and what I had learned from cranial osteopathy with Randolph Stone way back years ago to start doing this work. And it continued to evolve. And when I talk about kissing whales, I'm not going and kissing whales. There is a sonar that comes from the whales, and it's like a magnetic pulse. And then when it hits you, it will shift the fascia in the body, it shifts the breathing. We have kids that have come in that they've been frozen like this since they were born. And when the whales start to swim them, they'll completely open up and loosen. And even if they come back, it's not as tight as before. And it's a very palpable magnetic tether that comes from the whales. So when I say you've been kissed by a whale, when I talk about kissing whales, I'm talking about that magnetic pulse that they send to us, which will have people spin like a needle on a, and it doesn't happen all the time. I can't make it happen. Sometimes I've had a couple and one will spin and the other one won't. They're like, "Why did you spin?" I don't know why the whales do it. I just know they do it. And I know it's very specific. And I travel around the world and found different whales to see if they all do it. And it is primarily the humpbacks.
Okay.
And I have a question for you in the middle of your interview with me. You said you go with blues down in the Baja and look it
Right.
up. Did you find some?
Yeah.
Did you find? Excellent.
Yeah.
I made him go all over the Baja and we didn't find the blues.
Okay.
So
They're only in Loreto for like a month and a half.
right, right.
Yeah.
When we went, he wouldn't do that. He'd love it. So that's very cool. You found them. I'll have to come back again when you're there. So
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, so that's what the kissing whales is, that magnetic pulse that comes. The dolphins also use, I'll just flip right over. I know everybody's interested in what the dolphins do. So they taught us what to do, and we can duplicate in the physical body what the dolphins are doing. But they also do sometimes come in and interact when we're in the wild. No captive dolphins, no dolphin jails, no, no, no. I found dolphins in captivity that are artistic. I found dolphins in activity that are depressed. So we are creating in them the same diseases and issues that we're looking to alleviate in ourselves, which maybe our captivity son. But in the water one day, I was holding a woman, had my hands on her head. Another therapist was working with me, and the therapist working with me felt the dolphin sonar pass through the woman being treated's head into her hand, could feel the sonar hit her hand. And she's like, "What was that?" At the same time, the woman we were treating jumped up out of the water, and she had had multiple concussions. And when the sonar entered her cranium, the cranium just opened. It expanded and opened wide all over. So this woman jumps out of the water when it happens. We haven't told her anything. And she goes, "Oh my God, my head. What happened to my head? My head just got so big. It's full of light." And as it settled back down, there were no longer any compressions or indentations in her head where she had her problems before with having cracked her head. She was a pro athlete.
So you as when you're observing the cranial, is it through your hands that you observe the head opening like this? Or
You
is
can
it
feel it.
okay?
You have your hands on the head, you can actually feel it expand. She, the woman who was doing treating, just felt her head get bigger. It's not through the cranium.
Amazing. Okay, I always like to connect to that to people watching. So when we speak about the whale sonar,
Yes.
and I like that you actually call it a name because to me, I just say that they hit me.
Yes.
So it just there's because for me the way I describe this experience is all of a sudden time and space stop existing.
And now, see, I would call that being in the whale's biofield.
Okay.
And it's almost when you come out of it, it's like you've been in a dream.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I would call the whale's biofield.
But
and
then,
that is an open space.
But then you have an experience of something. Right. I describe it as this big ball of energy coming through the water and kind of just hits you.
Yeah, that is that.
Okay.
Yeah. So when it comes and it hits you like that, it's usually fairly specific to a part of the body. If it's your entire body, it's the biofield.
Okay. Okay.
And the biofield will take in everyone.
Okay.
So it's almost like an aura being expanded. And this is just my term. And everybody has different ones. But I've been on a boat. I've worked as a naturalist on a boat as a volunteer. And when the whale's biofield would come, everyone on the boat would go to sleep, or 95% on the people would just knock out completely. And children were the ones who would be most conscious of it. They just look at me and smile while everybody else was sleeping in the middle of the day that were wide awake. And the way people notice it the most is after it's over. It's like, wow, I was just in this dream and it's gone. And it does. When it first comes in, it will absorb you. You're very sensitive because most people don't notice it hitting them. They just notice they're in it and they're coming out of it.
Yeah.
To the point, it will completely change how people think. I was talking to a man on a boat one day, somebody I didn't know, and he was, "I hate my life. My wife is cranky all the time. I don't know why I'm out here on this boat. It was her idea. I could be golfing. This really sucks." And then the whale field hit, like you said, it came and it hit him. And mid-sentence, he just went, "Wow, it is so beautiful out here. Look at that water. Have you ever seen anything so blue?" Just like that, the whale's changing completely, just like that.
So what I wanted to tie into people watching. So when we connect, then through how we're gonna do it today with sync to the whale. When we sync to them and there's a response through their sound. Would you say any of this is possible even for somebody that's far away from the ocean
Oh, for the whales to hear the people?
to have
Connect.
an experience of either sonar or biofield?
Absolutely. When we first did it, the first time the whales came and they did their magnetic field, we were off the boat doing a treatment with someone, and that pulse hit, and the whale was right underneath them. Then it also, we started doing treatments at shore and the field, wherever the whale was. I can follow that. And people that are very psychic will also see that very same tether that goes back to a specific whale. But it would happen near shore. And then after a couple of years, I was in Europe once and doing treatment in pools inside in Europe. And I woke up depressed. You know, it happens. We have all of our days, right? And I don't like to touch people at that time, but I had no choice. I had a lot of people there, so I went out, and the whale started to spin me, and I could feel like a vortex of energy come from my feet and all the way up and off the top of my head. And when it cleared through my body, that was it. I wasn't depressed anymore. I felt good. I felt good. And that was 2,000 miles away, that whale. And that's what blows me away about the whale is that they care enough that they could reach out across 2,000 miles and touch us. So, yes, if you're out there today and you're with Jan and you're singing with the whales and you feel them connecting with you, you're feeling them connecting with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. So we spoke about biofields, we spoke about sonar, spoke about what Rebecca does, and I know there's probably so many layers to aquacranial that we could do an hour and a half just about aquacranial, yeah? So if you want to know more about that, the website is aquacranial.com. And Rebecca does trainings. Hopefully, we can bring her to Europe as well. We'll see. But we did want to move on and speak about a few more things that are relating to the whale grids, to the whales and their role, and also how it ties to what we're doing when we connect like we are now with the Sing to the Whales, and there's hundreds of people around the world singing together like so. First, you wanted to talk about
The melon whale.
the melon whales.
Right.
Okay.
I know people want to know if they can connect and if it's true and if it's real and it really works. And so I want to share this story with you because it's very profound at our time now, and it also shows how much they do hear us and feel us and connect with us. So we're on in Maui right now, and in Kihei is up at the far north end of Maui. A couple 3 years ago, we had 4 or 5 beachings, strandings, where the melonhead whales swam up onto the beach, and most of them died. That happened. There were a few of them that happened, and they thought, oh, maybe it's whale sonar. But my thought was it's more likely the conditions of the water and the lack of food in the water. So when they did the autopsies, melonhead whales, they eat fish. So they should have had fish bites in their body, and they don't eat seaweed. And when they did the autopsies on these melonhead whales, they were full of seaweed and plastic. There's no food. There was nothing to eat. Sustainable fishing practices are absolutely needed at this point in the reality. And we are all connected. And so if we're going to make a difference on the planet, you can do it one person at a time. Small steps do make a difference. But does anybody ever notice? Do they care? Is there any connection between the whales and dolphins and the work that we do when we talk about this? And I want to tell you that I was in water giving a treatment like I did with Jan, and you saw from the pictures, water's not very deep. It's about 4 feet deep. And there were 13 melonhead whales and 3 bottlenose dolphins. And they swam in from deep water and right beside me. I could have reached out and touched them, went around my body, went back out again. So there's a single file line of these 13 melonhead whales and 3 bottlenose dolphins circling around me and going back out again. And the tourists all around me, you could see their fins were above the water. And the tourists are like, oh my God, what is this? What are they doing? And the love that came from them was so profound. I knew without a doubt, they knew I was telling people that we need to take better care of the resources that we have. And they were expressing their love. And there's a dive master who teaches dive classes there. And he said, Rebecca, I've seen a lot of weird things with you through the years over here doing your thing. He goes, but in all my time being a dive master and teaching dive lessons, he goes, I have never, ever seen anything like that. And I don't know if it's the first and only time it happened. I doubt it. But I do know they knew what I was talking about and they came to acknowledge that. So what you're doing, Jan, much respect.
And everybody.
And
Yeah.
everyone, yes, yes, because he couldn't do it without all of you.
Yeah.
And so I want to acknowledge him, but I also want to acknowledge all of you, everyone that's out here today. Just thank you so much. Can we get to the part of the whale grid where the whale said,
Yeah, that's good. So I just wanted to also reflect on this because it's really amazing to get a response and knowing that it's actual response. So I know some of you do animal, communication and all that, so you know how it works. But even for people that have never had anything like this happen, they can recognize there's a response. And I'll just share a story from Maria last year where we put, for 3 weeks before the retreat, we had a crystal for the whales and we were putting a gratitude thank you into that crystal. And on the last day retreat, we put it in the water and it was a really bad day out there, very windy, like storm. It wasn't really good for swimming. We found one whale, but it was like staying really far away. And we're like, it's not, nothing's happening today. We need to go back into the lagoon where the wind is not crazy. But before we go back, I said, hey, we have a crystal. We still need to finish our ceremony. Just put the crystal in the water. All the gratitude for all the days we've been here and for all the weeks of preparation. We want to put it in. And we put it in. And then, we do the 5-minute ceremony. It's not really long. And after 5 minutes, we were slowly just moving alongside the reef, and after 5 minutes, a whale reaches out very near to where we put the crystals in. And it was so obvious that the crew and the captain, even though they're not really into the stuff we're doing, they knew that it was connected to the crystals. They were like, this is a recognition of the whale coming to breach right in the spot without any whale activity before. We didn't have any whales that day, really. The one whale we saw was really far. And then out of the blue, this whale comes to breach on the spot where we did the ceremony. So I want to just say that, things Rebecca's talking about are felt. Our gratitude is felt and perceived by whales more than we know. So even when you're sitting right here, wherever you are, just take a moment and say thank you to the whales. It goes, it travels, and it reaches them. That's the amazing part. And they come and show you in different ways. We've had whales come through clouds. We've had so many different things happen that where it's a response to what went out comes back, an acknowledgement and gratitude back from them. Yeah.
35 years of taking people out swimming with whales and dolphins, that is the absolute key, is gratitude. The most beautiful swims I've seen are the ones where people are grateful for whatever they get. It's the ones that are like more and more and more, raining today, can it stop? And we're all human, we're all going to have our moments. But the ones that really appreciate what comes to them, they get more and have a free time.
Amazing.
So we're very grateful for you being here today. I'm particularly grateful to be able to join all of you for a moment here from now on.
So in 2011, I wrote about Rebecca's book, and I knew I'm going to meet her one day, but I knew I can't force it. And it took 13 years, and I'm so grateful to be here and to have this beautiful opportunity for her to share some of her wisdom. 35 years of experiences, just she could speak for hours, so we're really moving along to try and get to the points we wanted to share today. But yeah, it's really, really amazing. Thank you. Yeah. So
We're good? I can leave? I can go
no,
down?
no, there was one thing. So
what?
we were talking about what we're going to talk about. And I was like, let's just free flow. But then a few hours later, we're texting each other. It's like, hey, she goes, hey, I remember this, and she texts it, and I go, oh my god, this is one of the things I definitely want to talk about. So I speak about the whale grids and what happens when we come with our tones and the whale heart and the meditation I did before this about the connection that happens between the whale hearts where it just becomes one heart. I call it the quantum heart of the whale. It's just one heart. And we are actually invited to not just feel it, but to become a co-creators within this one heart. So I loved a piece of information that Rebecca just shared through text saying, oh, I remember this. So I want you to say it now because I really think it ties into a bigger picture of what we're doing.
It's been recently that the whales showed me a picture and it was a round grid, but most of the pieces had disintegrated and were not there any longer. And what they said was, it's absolutely imperative that we connect with each other through our hearts and we connect a grid of love. And they didn't say it as you did, where we all become one heart, but that makes total sense because they said we all need to connect together and connect through our hearts, or we will cease to exist. This reality will cease to exist.
So what I feel happens is what's been happening in meditations is whales have been making circles around us humans. And when you shared all that, I realized they're literally passing on what they have to us. So we embody it and we take responsibility for our part. So they've been holding it for us, but now this whale grid becomes human whale grid. And each one of us carries the responsibility of being this one heart, this one quantum whale heart. And through that, I believe what we're doing is exact. So when you share that, I was like, oh my God, because I feel this event, I didn't even know why it started. I just felt like, hey, we need to gather as humans and start singing to the whales. And then the ones of you that have been with us before, you know how we went into, oh, the feeling of how we embrace the planet and create a grid between the whale heart and the human heart, and how the whale songs embrace the planet, but then human song needs to come in to embrace the planet as well. So when you said that, I was like, oh my God, it's if the whales are letting, slowly leaving and giving some of the responsibility away, it's us that need to take over. And that's what all we're being, in a way, in practice mode right now, but it's more and more you're going to feel this come in, the knowingness that you are the centerpiece. So that's the interesting part, and in a way, the miracle of the whale of heart, the subtitle of this event now for this equinox is all about realizing that wherever you enter the grid, you are in the center, and the human becomes the miracle. So that's a really big part. So when they told me that, I was just like, oh my God, because they surrounded us and then they said that. And I was just like, I'm expecting some miracles out there. No, you become the miracle. And then after I realized that, they said, but being the miracle comes with a great responsibility. So what she's sharing about taking steps to take care of the planet, take care of the whales, this is what I felt in that moment. Our great responsibility is to make sure that each living thing on this planet is taken care of. We're the caretakers, and we need to step into that role again. And it's really amazing how well it fits with the information you got about parts of the world where it's shutting down, and we are called to step in to take our roles. So thank you for that.
Welcome. And I've been doing this over 35 years, and the whales have never told me anything or done anything that has not come to me. So I feel very strongly about what they've shown us in the movie. And that's why I was so excited when I heard what you were doing. It's like, well, you're doing what they said. That's so beautiful. You're all doing what the whale said. You are all so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. At this point, would you like to add anything?
Look at that. All right. So you're already singing to the whales. You're doing a beautiful job singing with the whales. If you're looking for more things to do, I am also anti-ocean. So I recently wrote this little book. It's less than $10. You can get it on Amazon. These are healthy habits that support both the ocean and children. So if you're looking for something you can do to help the oceans from wherever you are in the world, this might help you out a little bit. It's very simple. Thank you, Jan, and thank you for letting me present this to you.
Thank you all. And now we go to the choir part.
Yay, I can't wait.